Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? It's Waco and Constant Kwong from the Revolution Watch Bar. And I have to say, this is probably the most exciting launch we've had for
a long time.
Potentially in our entire career as creating collaborations with friends.
Don't say that, bro.
No, listen, because it's something completely different, right? And I would say it's exciting to me also because as a watch journalist, you want to look for original voices in watchmaking. And again, I'm not trying to criticize, the prevailing themes that we experience, but we're right now in an era where everyone is so backwards looking, right? And I have a little bit of like 18th century fatigue,
Oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that.
Dude,
yes.
It was funny. I was having this conversation with Max Bucer, who I love. And in the early 2000s, we had the rise of really like a wonderful moment of contemporary like horological art, right?
Yes.
Where you're taking three-dimensional indications, but new ways of telling time, driven forward by watches by Ullwerk, for example, Ulysse Nardin, the Freak, but even aesthetics that we see in brands like Richard Mille. And certainly what Max was doing with the whole Opus series as well.
Exactly.
I think Opus 3 in particular, I would say that was the game changer.
And later on MBNF,
And later on MBNF. And so we're talking about like this new horological language that emerged in the early 2000s, and it was something new. It was like when a new art form was created. I would say as powerful as when abstract expressionism was born in the early 20th century in America, when jazz was created, when hip hop was created, it was like a new and very powerful voice. So it was funny because Max said, if you told me that 20 years later, everyone would be going back and listening to not only classical music, but like early classical music, like the harpsichord.
The classics.
Right? And don't get me wrong, I have immense respect for the guys who pioneered this, right? For the people that pioneered going back to incredibly craft-driven watchmaking. Like for me, Retrospective in the modern era has been the guy that's really pushed that forward, to going back to pre-industrial watchmaking with handmade soldered lug cases, to finishing at a very high level, to an aesthetic that's very 18th century. And of course, we can always say that our dear friend François-Paul Journe is probably the reference when it came to this and the guy that everyone looked at. But now every young watchmaker, it's like he's playing the harpsichord,
Yeah,
right?
I get what you're saying, yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. I think that's cool. And every moment has its prevailing theme. But I was a little tired of it, were you?
Yeah, kind of a bit jaded, I would call it, right? I mean, everybody's coming up with the spiritual watch, 2 hands, 3 hands watch,
But at $80,000.
Dude, that's such a big thing, like I don't understand. I mean, no flag to anybody, but like, why is like a spiritual 3-hand watch like so? It's like 6 digit now. Everything is 6 digits now.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about 6 digit Swiss francs.
Yes.
It's like it's a 2-hand watch.
It's a 3-hand watch with basically
hand finishing,
and no further complication than the 3-hand watch.
Time only.
Time
only watch.
Yes.
At most, I give you a freaking power reserve or something.
But usually not.
Usually not, because it's clean. It's like a classic, like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And I guess it's become kind of fashion, right? Like, when people are pioneers and they create something, which I think Retrospective certainly did with the RSCC1 and RSCC2, right? Then a lot of people kind of wanted to follow that pathway. But when everyone jumps on it, because it's a little bit opportunistic, it becomes a little tiring. But okay, nonetheless, let's talk about why we're so excited about Famille Hut. And it was because we've been waiting for what's the new original voice. Like, as Max Bucer would say, who's going to create the next original art form, like the next voice, the next like type of music that we never heard before. And amazingly, it came from China.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Constant, tell us, who is Famille Hut and who are the 3 individuals behind this brand?
Yeah, so Famille is actually founded by 2 guys in particular. Of course, the third partner joins them after that. So it was co-founded by Lucas, which is based in Chengdu, and Dai, which we have met, which is based in Chongqing.
Okay, so where do these guys come from a watchmaking perspective?
So it's interesting because all of them have they don't really have deep backgrounds in watches, but they are very successful, I would say very great independent watch collectors. I think it started from there because I think end of the day is, if you want to create like a really exciting or creative voice you need to first understand what world you're in, and
Yes.
what kind of customers
Well,
you're in, and
I
stuff
totally
like
agree. It has to come from a perspective of genuine love.
passion.
Even obsession, I would say.
Exactly,
Right? And
exactly.
as a collector, it's a great way to become educated because you're educating yourself, certainly, but you're following a pathway based on like emotion, lust, love. You know? Right?
For sure. Last passion, and these guys are very, very passionate about watches. Lucas especially has been in the watch, I would say in the watch sphere for at least 15 years, man. And of course, Tai is very young. He doesn't look like, but he's like 25 this year. He's born in the year 2000.
Dai's 25?
Yes, he's born in the year 2000. He's
That's
25,
crazy.
yeah. But Tai,
Well, okay, actually, we need to talk about that because that means that this original voice is being created also by one of the youngest creators
Exactly.
in the watch industry.
Exactly.
That's
yes.
nuts.
Yeah, it's insane. But I can't really fathom because this like Tai, it's himself is a genius. He's young, but he's such a guy that has a vision, and he's so great in terms of he studied design in Italy, right?
Okay.
But he's always interested in forms and art.
So that's what I was going to ask you is who does what?
So Lucas itself does more of the business side of things because he understands how the world works. He was in Switzerland for a couple of years, and he understands how Swiss watch industry works. So he was there, and he was very close to the scene, and he understands how it works. So
Right.
the business side of things, Lucas is taking care entirely to the other spectrum, which is Tai, which is really the creative angle.
Right.
So he's really doing sketches, and if you look at the watch that we're gonna show you guys later on, it's designed by him in like what 4 days.
Really? That's
It's
incredible.
it's insane, and he,
But I love that also because I also love the idea that if something's good, it doesn't take a long time to achieve it. It's already kind of almost like fully resolved in the mind of the artist.
Exactly,
You know?
yeah.
And so 4 days, it's kind of that famous story that we used to talk about related to Gerald Genta and him designing the Royal Oak in one night.
Exactly,
You know?
yeah.
Like if you have something that's been like on your mind for a long time, like that you've been dying to manifest, right? And I guess that was the situation with Dai with this timepiece. Okay, before we get into the watch though, talk to me about how they followed a very interesting pathway because rather than just creating a watch or creating a design and then trying to outsource the creation of the watch to a movement factory or whoever, they invested a huge amount in creating their own manufacturing.
yes. So for the first watch, of course, when they just started, it's not that easy because they are still working with a partner, and end of the day, what from Tai words basically is like the movement supply is good, but they can't give me what I want, because if you look at the Mark 1, it's so technically it's so advanced because every single part needs to be made customized.
It's not like you can find an
No.
existing gear train
No.
or an existing base plate or an
Exactly.
existing escapement. You just
Exactly.
have everything has to be made for this timepiece.
Can
right?
you imagine, like, have you heard of any other brand that's doing that? There's no, because the amount of investment that is needed for this. And now, fortunately, I mean, as passion goes, Tai is also extremely wealthy as well. So he wanted to invest in the passion and want to just give something fun and creative from the world from China.
Right.
And hence, it's really complicated. And the problem is the suppliers, it's good. Precision engineering in China is amazing, right? But the thing is, they still can't attain the kind of level that they wanted it to be because
Right.
they have very high expectations. And of course, just look at it. And if you imagine, even the Tourbillon is made with a alloy patented titanium,
Wow.
then you must imagine, it's crazy, right? And if you look at the jumping out mechanism and stuff like that, everything is customized. There's nothing in the market for them to use as a default. So everything needs to be made. Look at the case, you look at the strap, look at the crown. Everything is made by customization. It's really R&D from the start.
So am I correct that they then went on to set up their own facility?
Yes, so that is in the works, in the plans that they have, and it's fortunately I can say it's very, very soon. They are actually doing building a huge manufacturer encapsulated with the office and also the whole manufacturing floor. That's in the works. It's coming up, I think, by end of this year.
Yes.
And after Mark 1, so let's just say Mark 1 is their first watch, and this is also the only watch they're working with a partner. Second watch onwards, it's going to be fully made in-house. Not that this is not in-house.
Okay, the other thing that I find remarkable is that these guys have exploded onto the scene so forcefully. They become kind of the darlings of like the indie watch scene. Every significant collector I know has gotten like one of these on order. And then after like 1 year, they've decided to discontinue this watch completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that because they're creating a challenge for themselves intentionally, where you have to now be even more creative. You have to beat yourself. That is incredible, because honestly, they could have had a phenomenal 10-year career just making this over and over again. Different extrapolations, different materials for the case. You know, a little change up the base plate, change up the indications, Hindu Arabics, Mandarin character. You know what I mean?
The shit that we do.
Unfortunately, that's mea culpa. But the point is, they could have just done that for 10 years, right? Because, and also, constantly the demand for this watch is massive, right?
Yes.
But they didn't. They're like, bro, we did it. It's done. Now we move on. It's like it almost reminds me of like a musician that creates this extraordinary first album, and then they're like, okay, we'll do a couple of months of touring, and then we go back into the studio and we have to kick ass and meet the level that we created already, or maybe even exceed that, right? Dude, this thing on the wrist is incredible.
Right.
And it's also because it has this extraordinary, like, sort of dynamic contrast between being very compact, almost small in size,
compact,
and as a result of that, really elegant, right? Like, if you look at it just purely from here, it's about the same size as like a Cartier Crash or Benoit, right? And has that kind of that sort of elegance on the wrist, and then it's thick because it has to incorporate the double axis tourbillon, which is even on this sort of like sapphire canopy, a bit reminiscent of like what was the name of it? Zagato? You guys remember that car designer? You know,
this bulging glass makes me reminds me of like Grupo Forze, the big ball bulging glass, you know.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about one of our favorite subject matters, the double axis tourbillon. So that is what we see in this timepiece, and that is what creates a sort of like almost hypnotic visual dimension of these two cages, one rotating at 60 seconds and one rotating at 90 seconds. Right? Now, am I correct that you were involved in selecting these speeds?
Yeah, the beginning concept was 60 seconds and 150 seconds because they wanted to showcase the full rotation properly. But very, very quickly, I realized that it's a bit too slow. You know, end of the day, people want a tourbillon to be visually stimulated.
Right.
You know,
I agree.
It's automation, right?
Yes.
So I said that, you know what, let's cut it down and try to make it to rotate faster. And it's not that fast. Also, it's like 1.5 minutes, right? 90 seconds. So.
But I like the symmetry of that also, because it's 60 and 90, right? Like
Exactly.
it's very cool. Also. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the history of the double axis tourbillon. So to understand that, maybe we should explain to you a little bit about what a tourbillon is to begin with, right? So the incredible Abraham Louis Breguet, after he was like exiled in Switzerland, because he was like best buddies of everyone in the French court. So when the revolution happened, he was like, I'm gonna get out of here.
He was one of the lists in the wanted list.
Exactly. You know, where you go to the guillotine and
that is when it was a French Revolution.
So he bounced. And then when he was in exile in Switzerland, it's really cool because you think about it, this is really like a moment where a guy's career can be over, right? But the amazing thing about the best people, and the people I admire the most, is their idea of resilience. And this guy, while he was in exile, thought up of his best ideas while he was gone. And when he came back, he knew exactly what to do. First thing, subscription watch. Why? Positive cash flow, right? Second thing, sympathic. Right? That means you have a clock and a pocket watch and the pocket watch docks into the clock and they talk to each other. It winds, resets, and even in early versions regulates as well, which is crazy.
You can sell 2 in 1, bro.
Bro. And you can sell 2 in 1. Then in 1801, he drops the tourbillon, which is, I think to this day, still the most famous horological complication.
I agree,
right? Right. So what is a tourbillon? Well, basically, back in the day, people used to wear pocket watches, and gravity would have a negative influence on the regulating organs, consisting of the balance, the escape wheel, consisting of the balance, the escapement, and the hairspring.
But you need to say one thing why people used to do that, because pocket watches are always in one position.
Yeah, exactly. The vertical position, right? So this cage was created so that you're basically averaging the errors caused by gravity. Initially in a 4-minute cycle, then eventually in a 1-minute cycle. So his early tourbillons were slower.
Interesting, 4 minutes tourbillon.
And then and eventually, because of probably also the symmetry of having something in 60 seconds, then essentially the cage is a seconds indicator, right? Like that's quite cool as well.
That's very smart of him. Yeah.
Okay, so he created this for watches when, as Constance said, were in the vertical position, right? But then people started to wear wristwatches, right? Now, there are many people then who created tourbillons for wristwatches. Well, there was always a conversation about whether or not a tourbillon actually has an application for a wristwatch, because a wristwatch doesn't spend so much of its life like that or like that, which is vertical, right? It's usually like that. Actually, it's primarily like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like this.
Which is horizontal.
So me and Wei always cannot seem to agree on whether there's application or Wei believes that there is.
Yeah.
I believe that it's just like it's just like a visual stimulation, right?
So then a bunch of very clever guys in the early 2000s started to create double-axis tourbillons. So a double-axis tourbillon is?
It's basically, instead of one cage, it's two cages.
Yeah.
So instead of just rotating in one axis, it rotates a second axis.
Yeah, and it's up to you how you want to angle them. So they can be like that, they can be like that, you know.
Yeah.
But the point is then the balance wheel is adopting multiple positions over time,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Almost a series of like infinite positions, which then it's like, oh, maybe that has much greater application to a wristwatch, because now it doesn't matter where your wrist is, the balance wheel is always being in a position in a different place, right? Now, interestingly, this was not actually created for wristwatch application originally,
Yes,
right? So tell us a bit about the history of the double-axis
I
tourbillon.
think it was in 1977, the concept of, what's his name again?
Anthony Randall.
Anthony Randall, yes.
Right.
Anthony Randall created a concept for a clock, I think.
Carriage clock.
Carriage clock, yeah, it's the first ever bi-axis concept.
Yeah.
I think he managed to manufacture with the help of Richard Good. Managed to do the bi-axis carriage clock in 1980.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's really cool, right? So, but at this time, it was more of a theoretical study,
Yes,
right? It wasn't
exactly.
like, hey, we're going to adapt this to wristwatch application. It was more like, oh, can we create an additional axis of rotation for a tourbillon?
You know, I want to say, it's like, I always thought that bi-axis tourbillon was like a long ago technology, and I cannot believe that it's just like 50 years ago that we actually see
Dude,
bi-axis.
even more incredible, it's in the middle of the quartz crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
So, right, so it's really cool to see that people are still continuing with the art form of mechanical watchmaking. And this is what's important to me as well, right? Because it's like, if you want to be involved in mechanical watchmaking today, be like Anthony Randall and Richard Good were like back in the day. Bring something new.
Yes.
Bring a new idea, or take an existing idea but evolve it, right?
Yeah.
Just do something that contributes to the story of watchmaking, not just inner angles. Okay, anyway.
Damn, bro.
That's fighting words, right? Okay, anyway, the point is, then you have the first applications of double-axis tourbillons in the early 2000s. Now, what's really interesting is that actually, theoretically, a double-axis tourbillon is a perfect solution for a wristwatch because it's adopting so many different positions. But Constant, tell me about some of those early pioneers that were making these double-axis tourbillons.
Okay, if I remember correctly, so double-axis tourbillon wristwatches started, like what you say, appear in the early 2000s. The very first one I got to comment is Mr. Frank Muller. He did in 2003 with the Revolution 2.
I think, okay, if I'm not mistaken, in 2003, you had two guys that dropped it, right?
Exactly.
So you have Frank Muller, but Frank Muller also with the assistance of Enrico Barbacini,
And
Michel
Navas,
Navas,
yeah.
and Matthias Butte,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Who are three of the most talented watchmakers in the
Very
world.
big names
Right.
if you know watches.
Enrico and Michel, who are the founders of La Fabrique du Temps. Matthias Butte, who was the founder of B&B, which actually they were also a part of at one point as well.
Yes.
Okay, so that happens in 2003
Yes.
with the Revolution 2.
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
But at the same time, you have another small indie also working on this very same thing, and his name is?
Thomas Pressure. Yes.
Thomas Pressure. And he also launches a double-axis tourbillon
Exactly.
as well, right?
Same year, 2003 as well.
Okay, now let's continue to 2004, where you have the creation of the first double-axis tourbillon by one of the major big brands in Switzerland. Well, actually, to be fair, Frank Muller is a big brand as well.
Yes.
But this time it's Jaeger LeCoultre.
Yes.
And I remember this because I was a watch journalist back in 2004. I went to Le Sentier, and there I met a gentleman named Eric Coudray. And Eric Coudray had just created the gyro tourbillon.
Nice.
Right? Which was incredibly
So
mind-blowing.
JJ's first ever bi-axis tourbillon.
Correct.
Right.
But it's also just an absolutely mind-blowing wristwatch. And in the context of a young man who's like just, becoming a watch journalist, to see this was like seeing a micro-universe contained inside of a watch that was like a magic act. It was incredible.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
But then in 2004, you also have two other triple-axis tourbillons.
Yes, the first
right?
ever triple axis tourbillon wristwatches came to life just 1 year after the double axis tourbillon. First one, of course, Mr. Frank Muller with his Revolution 3.
Revolution 3,
And
yes.
also...
Yeah, and then the other one, if I'm not mistaken, was Thomas Pressure, who had launched by this point his triple-axis tourbillon as
They're
well.
fighting each other, I think, Mr. Frank Muller and...
When people kind of get into
Thomas
things,
Pressure.
somehow they're
I think so.
they're locked into a certain I guess everyone's fighting on who can finish their watch the most now.
Exactly, I give a shout out to Mr. Grupo Forze as well. I
Okay,
think.
this is also super important because in 2004 you have the creation of the very first watch from two of my favorite watchmakers, two of the greatest geniuses in watchmaking, and that is Robert Grubel and Stephen Forcey. Right?
can't do that.
Who, by this time, those guys were already so accomplished. They're young
Yes.
men, but they had been at Renault Papi, worked on the Grand Sonnery, worked
Amazing,
on the
man.
commemorate Tourbillon. I mean, worked on the modular minute repeater for the Portuguese minute repeater.
Crazy.
Worked on so much, right? So these guys create their own first brand. I'm sorry, these guys create their own brand, and they create the double tourbillon 30 degrees, right?
Yes,
Which means the
30 degrees,
inclination of the of the cages is at 30 degrees, as the name would imply. Now, what's really interesting about this watch is that a version of it would later go on in 2011 to win the Concours International
Yes,
Chronometry
exactly.
in its second edition. So what is that? That is an open competition
Yes.
for the most accurate watch in the world. In 2009, that was won by Gégé Lecoultre,
GG with the master tourbillon.
but second place was the gyro tourbillon,
Yes.
right? And in 2011, it was won by Grubel
Grubel,
Force's
yes.
double tourbillon. So it just goes to show you that from my perspective,
Okay.
a double axis tourbillon has immense applications for chronometric
Yes.
performance, and proven by these two instances, okay? So, but then you kind of had the double axis tourbillon become maybe a bit too popular. But you know, it's kind of
Really?
like how we were talking about finishing,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Like now everyone wants to be the king of finishing, right? So back then, everyone decided they wanted to have double or triple axis tourbillons.
Yeah, I become a bit crazy, bro. Like
And there was one dude that basically unleashed the floodgates, and that was the guy I was talking to you about before called Matthias Butte.
Yes.
Right? So he created this company called B&B Concept. And B&B Concept basically was supplying double and triple and whatever axis tourbillons you want
everybody.
to the entire world. Like Constant and I could create a brand called Huang Co KK,
Yes.
and then we could go and buy a double axis tourbillon if we wanted, right?
Penta axis.
Yeah, exactly. Penta-axis, actually, that would be
I-
interesting. Five axis would be interesting.
Yeah.
So, but then, unfortunately, that company went out of business during the financial crisis,
Yes.
right? And fortunately, Matthias Butte then went over to Hublot, where he still continues to do amazing work, and we love him. So,
Yes.
shout out to Matthias Butte.
Yeah.
But then we entered this kind of like era where the double axis tourbillon fell out of like
Yes.
a
Yeah.
favor somehow, right? We didn't really see it for a long time. And really, the first time you see it coming back in a big way, it's kind of like brands like Jacob with their
Sure.
twin turbo Furious,
Yeah.
which is a crazy watch. It's a chronograph decimal minute repeater and has two biaxis tourbillons, but with a movement created by Alain Chizer from Cirque de Horloger,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And then you also have it in watches for like brands like Cecil Purnell, right?
Sure,
So
yeah.
Cecil Purnell is also making a double axis tourbillon also because
Yes.
Eric Coudray then went to Tekebosch, which was the company that was making those watches,
okay.
right? So,
Okay.
okay, anyway, you have a bit of a resurgence, but all of those watches had one issue.
Yes.
They were massive.
They were humongous,
Yes,
bro.
behemoths,
Yeah.
gargantuan,
Very
you
big,
know,
yeah.
right? Like
Really,
it would
really big.
basically be the horological equivalent of getting the Sasquatch to come out of the forest and
yeah.
sit on your wrist.
Yes, yes.
Right?
It's,
Would you agree?
It's very big. Yeah.
Right. No diss to any of those watches. They're cool. But then now we re-entered this era where everyone was looking at more classic size watches. Which, how do I feel about that? I love the fact that we're going back to classic size watches for men's dress and complicated watches, right?
Yes.
I think the perfect size for those type of watches is, I would say, all the way down to 34. Which incidentally was the original size of the Dufour Simplicity.
Yes.
All the way to, let's say, 38.
Yeah, don't forget, the original Calatrava is just 31 mm.
Right.
You know, so that's the
Correct.
gentleman's era. back
Right.
then.
But I do feel as if there's now too much of a trend
Yeah,
of
yeah.
going into the as many as possible. Right?
They negate quality already. They just want to make it small. I don't
exactly.
like it.
So okay, so but there's a sweet spot for like a beautiful, elegant watch, right? Now, what is missing, however, are smaller size watches with immense technical value because it's
Yep.
much easier to make a small three-hand watch.
Oh, for sure.
And it's really difficult to make a small, very complicated watch, especially a double axis tourbillon,
Bi-axis tourbillon, yes,
right?
exactly.
So that was like what was so mind-blowing when we all saw the Famel Hut like sketches for the first
Yes.
time, right? Because you're like, but that watch is so small.
You know, that's the thing. When I saw the render, I was thinking like, oh shit, this must be like a 43 or 44 mm watch.
Initially, but then when they told us the size or actually showed it to us in
Yes.
context of scale,
Yeah.
you're like,
That's it.
right? and you can see it on my and it's so comfortable that you even forget that
yeah,
you're wearing it.
honestly, yes.
Like I'm not a massive fan of double wristing because I think it makes you seem a little crazy unless you're in the context of being at Dubai Watch Week, Geneva Watch
Bro,
Days.
I think you're one of
Watches
the trend
and Wonder-
starter, bro.
I know. But also because it's a little bit uncomfortable to have two
yeah.
fairly substantial sized watches on your wrist.
Yes.
But this you could wear all day long as
Really,
your
I
second
would say,
watch,
yes.
because you just forget you have it on because it feels like just basically a bracelet at some point. You
Yes,
know?
I can tell you, man. I was in China for almost 14 days.
Right.
I was double wristing every single day.
Dude, I've ordered one of these. I can't wait to wear it. And I tell you, I'm going to wear it on the days where I'm going to wear it on my left wrist. I'll just wear it like a normal watch. And on the days when I'm not wearing it on my left wrist, I'm just going to wear my right wrist like I'm wearing a bracelet because it's so
exactly.
easy to wear,
Exactly.
right? So, but then let's talk also about the incredible design of this watch. So, Constant, talk to us a little bit about why the brand is called what it's called, what its sort of like core aesthetic vision is, and how you feel it's beautifully expressed by this timepiece.
Dude, that's such difficult questions, man. But anyway,
In Singapore, you would say, "Wow, anichin." Right?
very anishima.
Correct?
Yes, you're right. So, Famla Hot itself is actually a Arabic name. It's actually based on this translated. It's not really. It's the original name of a star. It's actually a very bright solitary star in the southern hemisphere. We literally call it the brightest star in the southern hemisphere. And it looks solitary because it's so bright and everything beside it just looks dull, and that star just stands out. And that star itself is basically discovered by Arabic astronomers in the 8th century, and they give it a name called the mouth of the whale.
No.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, mouth of the whale, and the translation name of mouth of the whale is called Famla Hot, right? And there's an English name called Famla Hot as well. Right, so they wanted to give tribute to the Arabic name because don't forget, Ty and Lucas are huge astronomy geek as well. They love to go and
So they love the roots of watchmaking.
they love watchmaking. They love stars. They love all that kind of stuff. Constellation, right?
It's so comfortable.
super comfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is the how the name comes in. But that star itself also has a very deep tie to China, because that star is actually named in China called 北落师门, which is a name of the name of 北落师门 means that this star represents defending from northern tribes. You remember? So it's like defending the castle gates from the enemy. So it's a very, they want to call it that is because the star itself is very similar to what independent watchmaking is. It's solitary. It's a journey on your own, right?
Yeah.
And you are trying to go and see the world and maybe fight the other stars, or I don't know. The design itself is and this name incidentally is called Möbius, which is inspired by the Möbius strip in the galaxy. All right, if you look at the Tourbillon cage, you can see that every single the part of the cage itself is a ribbon, connecting in 3 different points, right? And that's where the tourbillon sits in the middle, and that is inspired by the Möbius strip, and they name it that. And hence, the funny thing is the design inspiration for this watch itself is also kind of like a bit of a very high independent watchmaking joke, because Ty and Lucas always say that, okay, if you want to create something fresh and want to create something that is unique, we first need to look at places that people don't look at. Right? So they say that, hey, they are very close friends with the founder of Xiaomi.
What's Xiaomi?
Xiaomi, the brand Xiaomi?
No.
Bro, you don't know Xiaomi?
What's
It's
Xiaomi?
one of the biggest tech brand in China.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
So
Xiaomi, Hanhao.
yes. Yes. So Xiaomi itself is a huge brand and does tech stuff. But one of the things they're very famous for is actually the Xiaomi Smart Band.
Really?
Which is the Fitbit.
Oh, that I know.
Yes. Yes. So the Fitbit.
Yes. It's like the China Fitbit, as you were saying.
Yes, exactly. So if you look at this watch, right? If I don't tell you, you look at it, it's like a Fitbit, right?
That's
the joke
so
itself.
funny.
The joke itself is very
And the
simple.
bracelet is very Fitbit-like as well.
That,
right?
exactly. You know why? Because Fitbit itself, for them, the smart band itself is like ergonomic, is super comfortable, and hence why the watch is so comfortable.
It is really comfortable.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And the case itself is so ergonomic on the wrist. No locks, no nothing. It just sits like that, and that's it. And
incredible.
the wrist presence is there. But the joke is, how do I make a Fitbit horology? And that is the
awesome.
result of this. That's why you have a bi-axis tourbillon, and you
That
also
is
have
awesome.
a kind of a open work movement. So it features a retrograde jumping hour and a retrograde minutes. So the minute slides
The minute is sliding,
and
but
retrograde.
then retrograde,
Yeah.
and the hour is precise jumping.
Jump. Yes, exactly.
Dude, this is awesome.
So
And then, but what I love about it also is that they've basically taken the movement itself and made it the prevailing aesthetic,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like that is so cool. And it's interesting too because that kind of watchmaking also has fallen out of favor a little bit, right? The whole idea of like very tech or contemporary watchmaking in that regard has become a little bit of the language of the past, you know? But the fact that they've done it and made it the coolest thing out there,
Yeah.
like is actually
you know what it
incredible.
reminds me of? It reminds me of the legacy machine.
Yeah.
Perpetual calendar.
Yeah. Yes, actually, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
But it is, I love it also because it's like they were like, okay, let's take everything that, like, if I were to just tell it to you, you'd be like, that sounds either crazy or it sounds like a disaster
Yes.
for watches,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And in the end, you made it the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's absolute genius.
You know, funny enough, they didn't really know that it's gonna be a success. To be honest, they just like, you know what? I've committed this. You know what? F it, I'm gonna do it.
No, but you know, that's also really, really, really important. Now, also, I'm looking at the back of the watch also because it's a double-axis tourbillon. So
Yes.
when your cage disappears from view because you're looking at the back of the two tourbillons, right? You can actually look at it from here, which
Yes,
is,
exactly.
which is great.
So
you
one
know?
of the reasons I want to do is to do a full see-through of the tourbillon
Yeah.
cage. So front and back, you can actually admire the front and the back of the bi-axis
It's
tourbillon.
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
So what I love about this also is, as you were saying, is that I am of the opinion that nothing great comes from trying to either please others or design through committee, right? Like everything great happens as a result of one individual or maybe two individuals with a very specific vision and executing it completely all the way without any compromise,
Yes.
right? It was interesting because back in the day, I was interviewing Samuel L. Jackson for my other magazine, The Rake, and he was saying that when they were making Pulp Fiction, they were like, no one's ever going to watch this because this movie's so extreme,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But at least, you know what? They kept saying, we'll just make it for ourselves because we love this movie, right? And in the end, because it was such a singular and unique vision, it became one of the movies that defined cinema from its era.
Dude, that's
right?
a great analogy. I think these guys are the same.
Yes, and then another example is also, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Straight Outta Compton, right?
Yes.
But the NWA was like, the formation of NWA was because they felt completely unrepresented in terms of what their experiences
Yeah.
was and the type of like hip hop that they wanted to create.
Yeah.
And initially it was created only for themselves or maybe their
Yes.
immediate community. And I remember I was a college kid, I was spending a year at an Ivy League university called Dartmouth, right? When that album came out. And it was blasting. If you imagine, I'm in New Hampshire.
wow.
It's a pretty much all, you know, it's a
Wow,
very
that's-
Caucasian-centric
that's
school.
crazy.
It's an Ivy League school called Dartmouth, and NWA is blasting
Dude,
from
wow,
every single window when
love
it came
NWA,
out.
bro.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you like how if you create something with very singular vision, you can change the world.
Exactly.
And and that's what I feel honestly this watch has done, and that's how
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
powerful it is, right? Now the other thing that's important to understand also is that this watch hasn't even maybe seen its full potential
Yes.
from a cultural perspective. Why do I say this? Well, first it's nominated for the Tourbillon category in the Geneva Grand Prix,
Yes.
right? Which is very interesting. Second, it's nominated as a finalist for the Louis Vuitton Prize for Independent Creatives. And third, because Femme El Hut is also one of the finalists for the Dubai Watch Week Design Competition, which
Yes.
was co-created with the Siddiqui family.
Yes.
And imagine if they won all three. It'd be
No,
crazy.
It's gonna be a game changer for sure.
It'd be nuts. And in that single moment, this watch would then have changed completely the perception of what Chinese watchmaking was all about.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things.
Actually, if it wins only one, it's enough.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's I mean nobody else actually won it in China before, and
Correct.
I think we don't forget that's one of the biggest thing for them. The most important thing for them is to change the Chinese the stigma of Chinese watchmaking.
Correct.
Right, things coming from China can be great, can be amazing, and can be full of horological essence as well and true credibility of
Correct.
horological watchmaking. And I think they did it. I'm extremely proud of them, and I'm very happy that we are actually working with them as well. And I also want to thank Femme Hall for giving us the only limited edition that they're going to do, because this watch has already stopped allocation already. So ours is just going to be 25 pieces, and itself is
Oh, I completely forgot. That was the reason for this video.
Yes.
I was like, yes. So incredibly enough, Femme El Hut has decided to or given us the honor of partnering with them on the one and only limited edition they've made.
Exactly.
So we have a 25-piece run of the Möbius one. The difference for us is that instead of a normal, or instead of a gunmetal gray base plate, which you can see here, and we'll show you a close-up side by side, we've got a frosted gold base plate as well,
exactly.
right?
And also one more thing is on the minute retrograde display, the 20 is in gold. It's a nod to Revolution 20th anniversary, which is very, very sweet of them. And if you look at the Tourbillon cage, at the back of the frame, there's an engraved Revolution on the frame of the Tourbillon as well. So behind the Tourbillon.
That's awesome.
Right?
Thank you. Thank
really,
you,
really grateful for that.
Lucas, Di, and Zoe. That's incredibly cool. It's incredibly accessibly priced for what it contains. Right?
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
And I remember asking, Di about this, and I'm like, are you sure? Right? Because, you know what I mean? Like, I get that you want to position Chinese watchmaking at the highest level conceivable. From a creativity perspective, you've done it. Do you not then want to also have a price that's commensurate with what a Swiss brand would do if they were to launch this? And he ultimately said no.
Yes.
Explain why he said that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because he explained that, if I can control the cost of the watches, right? I mean, end of the day, these are a want, not a need, right? These are luxury. This is, for them, it's something to be enjoyed. And if I can make it accessible, if I can control the cost, then there is no need for me to make it extremely expensive just for the sake of being expensive. I can make sure that these watches are can be kept by all different types of collectors, to have opportunity to own something like this and to enjoy them, because that's the whole point. Because one of the biggest problems with independent watchmaking today, I feel it's prices has been kind of out of control, to be honest, and they want to bring back this kind of true responsible kind of independent watchmaking, to be honest. Like if we can, of course, if you can't, it's fine. Costs there's variables, but if you can, and like what they do, they can control the cost. Why make it expensive?
So Constant, tell them how much the watch costs.
So this piece in particular is, of course, I wanted the highest spec, highest specification for us. I want the best. So this is actually not using a stainless steel. This is actually using this metal choices called amorphous zirconium, which is called bulk metallic glass.
Which AP uses.
Yes.
Right.
On the 16202 XT on the bezel.
Right.
Even the new one.
Right.
RD5, they uses the bezel as, but a bit of difference. AP uses palladium.
Okay.
They uses zirconium.
Okay.
So it's a different kind of BMG.
Right.
But this is a BMG. So ours will have the BMG case and itself, and this is gonna be 1,000 more than the original BMG case. So this is at 34,000 USD.
I find that incredible that this watch is 34,000 US dollars. Okay. Anyway, regardless of the price, having this on my wrist now, and like really us discussing it and understanding what it represents, like I feel that this watch will eventually be as important as the Freak, the RMO1, Opus 3. Probably, if I was going to pick an MB&F, I would say the LM Perpetual Calendar, which I think is one of the greatest acts of genius.
I really think it's so important, this watch, and I only time will tell.
Yeah.
But honestly, for what it represents, and as Chinese myself, I feel incredibly proud.
And then Constant and I are talking from the perspective of owners because we also each bought one as well.
Yes, exactly.
And I can't wait for mine to come. This is awesome.
Next year. Coming.
Wait, next year?
Next year.
Oh.
Very, very quick next year. Dude, come on.
Well, actually, I would be interested to know from our audience. So I mentioned from a perspective of like creating this whole idea of contemporary horological art, watches like the Freak, RMO1, Opus 3,
machine, like stuff like that.
LM Perpetual Calendar. Like from your perspective, what are your favorite acts of contemporary horological art? First of all, and second of all, what are some of your favorite double axis tourbillons?
Oh yeah,
right.
There's a lot of them.
Now there's quite a lot of them as well. Not at 34,000 US dollars, except for this one. This is an important point because I don't know if you guys may have noticed, but we decided to kind of shift away from too much like lifestyle journalism, right? Like,
did we do a lot of lifestyle journalism?
We did a bit in the past, right? Okay. But for us, you also kind of want to do what you enjoy the most, right? And for us, it was about like deep dives into real horology.
Yeah, so, this is fun, man. Like,
So if you guys noticed, like we did a video on Gunther Blumlein that was an hour and 15 minutes long, right?
Such a good episode.
But it took that much time to properly talk about his career, and we're about to drop drop one on Grand Seiko. Maybe
Yes.
it'll be out by here already.
Yeah.
It's like an hour long as well.
Yes.
But we just want to go as in depth as possible and to give you like the technical breakdowns that we feel are a little bit missing from the rest of the, I don't know, like
Yeah, media, I would say, even
Right.
any outlet of media, I think that we are very lucky to be in a position to be able to do this kind of deep dives and to have a lot of this kind of information, you know, to
Yeah.
be able to share and process for us and to share with you guys, and hopefully in an entertaining way.
Yeah, so tell us if you think we're on the right track, because that's the kind of stuff that we love to do.
Yes.
It's funny because I've done a TV series, right?
Yeah.
And in the trailer of the TV series, it says like, I'm the guy that makes the videos that your husband watches alone at night in the basement. You probably heard my voice,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
That we're going to continue to make those type of
Yeah,
videos. The
yeah.
type of videos that your husband watches alone in the basement at night.
Yeah.
Unless you happen to be a female watch collector, then you can join in as well,
Yes,
or
of
watch
course.
them alone in the basement at night as he sleeps.
Yes, exactly. Right. So thank you guys so much once again for the support, and thank you guys for watching.
Peace.